Would you like to have Spanish words just roll off of your tongue, improve your speaking confidence, increase your vocabulary and diversify it, and even improve your pronunciation and spelling in Spanish? If so, I have good news for you. Reading in Spanish can help you accomplish all of those things. But I do get a lot of questions about how to read effectively. Erica, should I be reading out loud? Should I be reading silently? Should I be pausing to look up all of those unfamiliar words while I'm reading? Or should I just kind of let the story wash over me, sit back and relax without another care in the world? Which of those methods is most effective? My answer? All of them. But the one that is the most effective for you in this moment really is going to depend on what you're actively working on. So today, let's talk about 4 different ways that you can effectively read in Spanish depending on what your main objective is. Regardless of your goal, I've got you covered. Comencemos, amigos. What's up, language leaders? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Erica. I am a former Spanish interpreter and translator turned language teacher and coach, and my mission here is to help you love, learn, and live the Spanish language through fun and effective strategies. Are you with me on that? Do you want to be with me on that? If so, then join the family, click that subscribe button and that bell, and let's get started. Now, I want to start out by telling you that even though we're going to be focusing on reading in this video, I realize that's only part of the picture. So if you would like to see kind of a more complete A to Z picture of how you can put together your entire Spanish learning routine, then I invite you to my free Framework to Fluency Masterclass. You can join, you can register by clicking on the link below or by going to ericaraylanguage.com/masterclass. I really want to reduce the overwhelm that you may be feeling and that is so common to feel when you're trying to learn Spanish on your own. So I really hope you join us there. So one of the first things that I did when I was trying to learn Spanish, when I was actively trying to learn Spanish, is to learn how to read it. I definitely consider that I became a fluent Spanish reader far before I became a fluent Spanish speaker. And my clients and students are constantly raving about how reading more is helping them across the board with all of their language abilities. So why is this? Why is reading so helpful? Well, remember that the 4 fundamental elements of language, the listening, reading, writing, and speaking, are all very beautifully intertwined and they complement each other very, very nicely. So the way that reading fits into all of this is that when you're reading, you're acquiring more vocabulary, you're noticing grammar patterns, you're seeing example after example of how to put sentences together in a way that makes sense for this particular language. And through seeing all of those examples, you learn how to put your own sentences together in your writing, which then just transfers over into your speaking. And if you want to go a step further and read while listening, well, now you're working on your listening comprehension, your pronunciation. So all of these skills can potentially be worked on at once, and to a degree, they really will be. But if you're aware of kind of where you are in your journey, that can help you know where to focus your attention. So let's dive right into potential objective number 1 that you may have. So one way that you can use reading as a tool is to learn how Spanish is actually pronounced and even the spelling. So in order to do this, you are of course going to need the audio to go along with what you're reading. Now, I've talked about in previous videos like this one about the need to spend at least some time only listening to Spanish before you bring in the reading, because you don't want those words to start to interfere with what you're hearing when you're brand new with the language. However, once you get an idea of how Spanish sounds, then definitely go ahead and bring the text into it. And that is going to help you see how to connect the sounds with the letters and combination of letters that you are seeing on the page. And the advantage that we have here with Spanish in particular is that Spanish is a phonetic language, meaning that the words on the page really do tell us how we're supposed to produce the sound. And if you're thinking, well, that's obvious. Well, no, think about other languages. Think about English, for example. How many ways can we pronounce this particular letter combination of O-U-G-H? Listen to how it sounds in these words. Rough, plow, through, though, thought, cough. And that's not all. We're not going to have that problem in Spanish. Once you learn those rules of pronunciation, you really will be well equipped to start to learn to read on your own, even without the audio. But here in this objective of learning how Spanish is pronounced, you're going to want to listen along with the reading. So let me illustrate how to pick up on pronunciation and spelling patterns with a short excerpt, slightly modified version of a story that I have here on the channel.
La justicia parecía estar ocupada en casos más importantes. Tenía que tomar cartas en el asunto, pero no veía la manera de hacerlo. Pero cierto día me di cuenta de que yo prácticamente era la madre de la familia. Como tal, la responsabilidad caía en mí de defender a mi hermano o a cualquier miembro de mi familia, de ser necesario. Así fue como tomé la decisión de estudiar leyes.
Now, as you are listening to and reading that text several times, there are certain things that you'll probably start to pick up on. For example, let's compare these words.
Justicia, familia, parecía, caía, veía, día. Now, all of the words end in IA, as you can see, but the words on the left side do not have an accent mark on that I at the end, and the ones to the right do. So the words that don't contain the accent mark form what we call a diphthong between the I and the A, and we pronounce them together as one syllable, one sound that basically ends up sounding like ya, justicia, familia. So we're not going to say familia. We're not going to say justicia. No, because we're not going to put a strong accent on that I. However, the words on the right do have that accent mark. They are pronounced with a strong stress on that I sound. Parecía, caía, veía, día.
So these are the things that you start to pick up on while you're reading along with listening instead of listening by itself. Once you pick up on these patterns, you become a more independent reader, and that will start to take you into reading fluency, which we're going to talk about during our second point. Now, when you're reading for the purpose of learning pronunciation, I do recommend reading silently, at least to start, so that you're fully focused on how the speaker sounds, and then you can start to imitate. So, your second objective may be to work on your reading fluency and therefore your speaking confidence. Reading can help you accomplish that as well. See, by this point, you've learned how to pronounce the words, at least in the particular text that you're working with right now. But through repetition, through getting really comfortable with reading, you're just solidifying in your brain how to pronounce those words, and they're going to come out so much more naturally when you're in the middle of a conversation. And interestingly enough, even if you don't know what all of the words mean that you are reading, later when you do attach meaning to those words, trust me, they're still going to be easier for you to say, even if it's a brand new word that you just learned the meaning of today, because it's not a brand new word, as in a word that you've never seen before. You've seen it before, you've said it before, now you've attached meaning to it, but you're still ahead of the game, so to speak. Your confidence in speaking, because your tongue is so used to pronouncing these words, even when you were just reading, is going to dramatically increase. Definitely, this is the time to read out loud. Reading out loud is an absolutely fantastic thing to do when this is your objective. A third objective that you may have is reading to acquire new vocabulary or idiomatic expressions. So, when you are reading for this purpose, my suggestion for what you read is going to change here, because you're really going to want to focus on the comprehensible input at this point. Whereas before I told you that it doesn't matter if you can't understand even a lot of what you're reading when your goals are acquiring pronunciation and reading fluency. Well, here, now that you're actually working on vocabulary, you will want to make sure that you can follow along with what you're reading. So choose something at an appropriate level for you. Of course, there are going to be new words in there, and that's how you're going to be learning, of course. But you want to make sure that you can follow along and that every other word is not a word that you're unfamiliar with, because this is going to be very frustrating. It's going to get frustrating real quick. So when you are reading for the purpose of acquiring new vocabulary, feel free to underline, to highlight words that you're unfamiliar with. Feel free to pause and look them up. Make sure that the definitions that you find make sense with the context, or see if you need to continue to investigate a little bit, or write that down to ask your tutor if you're working with one. Let's go back to our sample text, and let's say that you were reading along with this and you came across tomar cartas, and you found, or perhaps you knew, that tomar is to take and cartas are cards. So to take cards in the matter, and you think, what does this mean, to take cards in the matter? Well, this may be an opportunity for you to actually look up that entire phrase and not just the individual words, to see if you can discover an idiomatic expression that may be going on here. So if you go to something like a free resource like SpanishDict.com and you put in that entire phrase, tomar cartas, or tomar cartas en el asunto, then you're going to notice that tomar cartas is meaning to take action, to take charge of the matter, okay? Things that are similar to that. And now this makes sense in context. So that is the time to pause and look up words if you are trying to learn new vocabulary. And your fourth objective may be reading to diversify and improve your speaking abilities. Once you get to this point, you're really reading for pleasure, you're reading to become a more well-read person, and you're naturally going to be seeing not only new vocabulary, so we're going into a little bit of what we just discussed in point 3, but you're also going to be seeing new and diverse ways to put sentences together. It's going to make your speech more eloquent and just more precise, right? We all know that in any language, those who read more tend to have an easier time expressing themselves, and there's no difference when we're learning a foreign language. So what you would want to do here really is to take it easy and read for pleasure. Notice those new ways of creating sentences. Just kind of let those things be absorbed, almost subconsciously sometimes. Let's take this little example from our story.
La justicia parecía estar ocupada en casos más importantes.
So justice appeared to be occupied in more important cases. So we could have said something boring there, like the judicial system was partial, but here we're kind of personifying justice, giving it a personality, and saying that justice appeared to be more occupied in more important things. So it's just a different way of speaking, and the more you read, the more you're going to enjoy discovering those new ways of putting sentences together, and they actually will carry over into your own speech as well. So when you're reading for this purpose of just diversifying your vocabulary, finding new and interesting ways to put sentences together, then definitely you're going to be just way more relaxed, really reading for pleasure, letting the story or whatever you're reading just kind of wash over you. You're not going to be so concerned with looking up words, because there may not be so many words that you are unfamiliar with, but definitely feel free to do so when and if you would like to. But overall, you're just trying to find new and different ways to express yourself. Guys, I hope this video has been helpful for you. If so, give me a like and let me know in the comments, do you use reading in any of the ways that I've described today, or do you do something completely different? I would love to hear about that in the comments below. And I would really love to see you once again in my free masterclass, my Framework to Fluency masterclass, where I'm going to show you how to incorporate not only reading, but all of the other aspects into your routine. Guys, that is all for today, but until next time, don't forget to go out and live your new language today.